let me just tell you about how I found out that I had cancer. On June 27th, 2018, I woke up at about 3:30 in the morning with what I thought was a bunch of just saliva and postnasal drip. To me, it was kind of like the movies, right? You wake up at 3:30 in the morning, nothing ever good happens at 3:30 in the morning. And you spit up a big copious amount of blood, and I'm thinking, I know how I've seen this movie before. I know exactly how this ends. This is bad stuff. So anyway, ended up going to the emergency room. So a scope is when they take a camera that is about the thickness of, say, a smartphone charging cable. Not trying to show my bias, but maybe a little bit smaller in diameter, right? And they go up the nose and through the back of the throat, and they look around, and if you have a good insurance company, they probably have it hooked up to a monitor, and if you're like me, they're looking through a little monocular, as in like pirate, one scope, looking through there, and the doctor saw something that made him go, huh. So anytime you're being examined by a doctor, and he's being cool, calm, and professional, and he lets out a, huh, that's not good. So he said, huh, and I said, what? And he said, well, you've got something growing here, and I don't like it. And I said, okay. So now I'm starting to get a little uncomfortable. And he says, I want to get a CT scan of this thing, see what I'm dealing with. I said, let's do that right away. So anyway, they go in, they do the CT scan, and he said, and I'll come back and talk to you about it. I said, great. So you have to understand, at this point, the room I'm in is at the end of a long hallway. So when I'm looking out my little room, I see down a very long hallway. And I don't have much peripheral. I can't see much to my left or right, but I can see a long way straight. And I've got these curtains, right, and I've got a door. So I'm sitting there, and I'm waiting. The nurse comes in, and she's joking, and like, oh, have you got the results from your CT scan? And I'm going, no, not yet. So then I see this ENT doctor who said he would come back and talk to me when he got the results. I see him at the end of the hallway, but he doesn't see me, right? So this is a moment I'll never forget. Whether I live a year or 100 more years, I'll never forget this moment. So I see this ENT doctor, but he doesn't see me. And he's walking right at me, but he's a long way away. I mean, he's like 10 hospital rooms away, which is, I don't know, maybe 70 yards or so. And he's looking off to his right, and he's looking off to his left, and he's smiling and waving at a few people, and a nurse comes out of his peripheral and says something to him, and he laughs and nods his head, and she walks away, and then now he's maybe 20, 30 yards from me, and he looks down and he looks up and he sees me, and he realizes that I'm already looking at him, and when he sees me, his facial expression does one of these. He's like, hi, hi, and then he sees me and he goes, and right there, right at that very moment, I knew I had cancer. Man, doesn't that sound weird? It sounds so dramatic, but I just knew. I knew at that moment. I mean, call it a hunch, call it being dramatic, but yeah, he walked in, and right away he closes the door, draws the curtains, and I'm like, this is not good. This is going to be bad news. They don't ever give you the good news with the doors closed, right? So the doctor says, okay, so the radiologist read the CT scan to me, and I agree with his findings, and we see a mass about 2 by 2 cm, and he's just going. Like, he's in doctor technical mode, and he's just rattling off. At that point, my brain hit the off button, and his mouth was still going. And it was going. It wasn't going in here, it was just going everywhere else. I stop him and I go, wait, hold on a second. And he stops and looks at me, comes back, and I go, did you just tell me I have cancer?